Stacy the Black Feather Intuitive. Welcome to Pop Culture Readings. Around here, we're all about curiosity, clarity, and courage, understanding ourselves, each other, and the beautifully messy mystery of being human. And today we are discussing a story that a beautiful follower suggested. Thank you for that suggestion. If you've been following the story of Marlon and Yonna, you know the internet has plenty of opinions. But today we're setting the headlines aside and asking what might be happening beneath the surface. So let's talk a little bit about Marlon and Yonna and what happened. So Marlon and Yonna became a hugely popular streamer pairing after fans noticed their chemistry, flirting, and emotional closeness. And let's face it, we all love to see couples getting together, right? It's exciting. We get to live vicariously through them. And even though they didn't always publicly define themselves as an official couple, there was clearly a romantic connection, and fans became heavily invested in the possibility of them being together. Things started to get a little complicated with Marlon reconnected with his longtime on and off girlfriend, Shanita, whom he later became engaged to. Since then, the dynamic between Marlon and Yonna appears to have deteriorated significantly. More recently, tensions spilled into public view during a streamer university event when Marlon's cameraman confronted Yonna and her team over accusations that her content was fueling negative attention toward Marlon. Yonna became emotional and left the stage, and the fan fallout afterward became extremely toxic. What has really caught viewers' attention, though, is Marlon's apparent refusal to engage with Yonna at all now. In a recent viral clip, he heard her voice on a stream, and he immediately muted it. So the big question is, how did something that once seemed so close become this fractured? All right, let's get to the tea. What actually changed between Marlon and Yonna that caused Marlon to shut her out? So you guys know I got my card deck here, but I'm getting a psychic hit. I'm feeling that because Marlon got back together with his ex, it caused some issue between them. And I feel like his ex was saying, I don't want you having any kind of a personal relationship with Yonna. I understand you have to do something professional, but I don't want you having a personal relationship with Yonna. So I feel like this actually kind of all started because his on again, off again, who's now a fiance, kind of laid down some boundaries, and just kind of hearing that. But let's see what the cards have to say. Eight of Wands, swift release. I'm also feeling that Marlon really was starting to like Yonna and was feeling that there was, maybe a new direction that could happen here. And when he decided to reconnect with his ex, he had to make a swift release and a swift break. And I feel like he used the situation with his ex to kind of fuel his ability to kind of cut her out or to compartmentalize Yonna's experience. And Yonna, being Yonna, I feel like she's a bit empathic. She felt that cutoff. And she was like, Marlon, what's the deal? Like, I understand that we aren't going to be a couple. I understand that you're going back, to Chanita. I don't have a problem with that, but we can still be friends. And she just really took it personally that he was shutting her out and cutting her off. So I really feel this is powerful that it's the Eight of Wands, because that is the card of swift release. I also want to say he had to very quickly release his feelings for her in order to be able to commit to the relationship again. And I want to say, not that this is a question that you're asking, but I don't know that the on again, off again relationship is actually going to last. Oftentimes when you have these on again, off again situations, you do that, for a long time, and then someone moves on. And I feel that it's very likely that that's going to happen within the next 6 to 8 months. They're going to be back together and then they're going to be off again. Let's go into the truth beneath it. So beneath all the live streams, fan wars, and internet drama, because everybody loves to have their 2 cents, what are Marlon and Yonna actually feeling toward one another now? Is there still unresolved emotional business between them? Ooh, okay. So I've got a card for Yonna and I've got a card for Marlon's feelings. So let's look at Yonna's. Seven of Coins. So Seven of Coins is a card of reaping rewards. And I feel like she's feeling hurt. She's feeling very confused. She thought that they were heading in a direction and all of a sudden it just stopped. And she was okay with keeping the friendship. But when he got cold with everything, she just couldn't understand it. This reaping rewards, I feel like she feels that she's not reaping rewards, that he's projecting a lot of things onto her. And this is what she's finding is very challenging and very difficult. When we tap into these things and there's unrequited love or there is, a lover scorned and some heartbreak, people can behave in really weird ways. I'm actually getting a sense with Yonna that it's less about the drama and more about legitimate confusion over why can't we just be friends? Like we work together and this is how things are going. I don't understand why we, just kind of can't find our flow with this. So I feel like she's the one who, was willing to move forward in the direction that he suggested. And he just cut her right off and right out. I don't feel that there was a specific incident that she did or said or caused. I feel like she's just being very authentic about it and she's very confused. How does Marlon feel about Yonna? Oh, interesting. Nine of Coins. So throwing away what was, throwing away a good thing. Nine of Coins or Nine of Pentacles is the card of gratitude. And I feel like he's throwing away that gratitude. He's not being appreciative of her and what she brought to his life and to the table. And because he's choosing to cut her off entirely in order to save his own relationship. And quite frankly, peeps, this happens from time to time. You get a new partner who tends to be a little more jealous or envious, doesn't want other women hanging around the situation. And so they draw a hard line. And I find that this is in, guy girl relationships, where the guy will just throw everybody else under the bus because he chooses that person and chooses that relationship. I'm not saying don't choose your relationship because I think that's important, but you don't have to cut everyone else and everything else out of your life. That tends to be dysfunctional. That tends to be not a healthy dynamic to explore. So I feel like he's putting an end to this. He's throwing it away and he's doing it because he's, all in, trying to make this on again, off again relationship really work this time and lean in. And he's discarding the very people in his life that really care about him and love him and are really, I want to say, representing kind of the core component of who he's becoming. So, wow, that's really interesting. I got a little extra question here. Where does it go? Is there a genuine path toward reconciliation between Marlon and Yonna, romantic or otherwise? Or has this connection already taught them what it came here to teach? Spidey sense wise, I feel that after Marlon and Yonna, after 6 to 8 months from now is and our timing and divine timing are often two different things. So don't hang your hat on. It's just reading the energies of what I'm getting today. Marlon and Shanita, I really don't feel are going to kind of span the test of time. And I feel that there's going to be another hiccup and there will be a breakup. I'm feeling that it's going to happen within the next 6 to 8 months. I could be right. I could be wrong on that. But I'm feeling like when that breakup happens, that's when there's going to be more of a reconciliation between Marlon and Yonna. Could it grow into something romantic again? It could if the hurt is addressed, if there's honesty around why there was a pullback. But I do feel that they'll at least be able to come to terms from a professional perspective. Has the connection already taught them what it came here to teach? So we got another seven. Seven of Cups. So it's a card of illusion and delusion. And I feel like there's still more that they can learn from one another. But if they choose not to go down that path, that's okay too. They'll learn those lessons in other relationships in other ways. Seven is the number of divinity, but it's also the number, I like to say it's the prototype. It's like just before you put it into mass production, this is the time to dot the I's and cross the T's and make sure that, the thing that you've created, the invention that you've made is going to serve all of the needs that you have for it to serve. So, it's a measure twice, cut once, dot the I's, cross the T's, make sure that it's doing, the functions that you need it to do, and then you can put it into mass production. And so because of that, I'm really feeling here with this Seven of Cups that there will be an opportunity, I want to say, for them to learn more from one another, but it really is their choice. All right, my favorite time of the show. It's mirror work time. I love that. It's so cheesy, but I love it. When someone completely shuts you out, how do you know whether to fight for the connection or recognize that their silence is already an answer? This is huge. Every single one of us has gone through a situation, I'm sure, where you've been shut out by someone. And there's so much confusion around the why. Sometimes you know the why, but you still don't understand it. You're like, okay, I understand why you're doing this, but why can't we talk about it? There's got to be another way. There are many different ways to approach a particular situation. So, how do you know whether to fight for the connection or to recognize that their silence is already an answer? The cards are giving us the Hierophant, and this is like the perfect card for this particular question. I have to say, the Hierophant is our inner guide. It's our inner knowing. The Hierophant doesn't tout wisdom. The Hierophant touts knowledge. It encourages you to review where you might be a little more ritualistic and where you need to kind of ask, is this ritual still working for me? Is this the way that I'm approaching this still giving me the kind of outcome that I need? Or is it time to kind of try something new, to open myself to other possibilities? So I want to say the Hierophant is a clear message from the cards today to say, go into your inner knowing, tap into your intuition, your spidey senses, and really listen. Because the natural response for people who are more anxious attachment are going to really fight for the connection. They're going to lean all in. They're going to chase. They're going to, put their whole heart on the line. And people who tend to be a little more avoidant are going to recognize that the silence is already an answer, or maybe they're not recognizing it. They're just running. They're hightailing it out of there. And the true heart of the matter, the true lesson to be learned isn't really grasped. So the Hierophant comes through to say, use your inner guidance to help you with that situation. And today we've got a little bit of a bonus snack for you. Were Marlon and Yonna ever able to figure out what their relationship actually was before the internet decided what it was for them? And I love this question because this is what a lot of this is what happens a lot today with social media being the way that it is social media tends to inform our choices or inform somewhat incorrectly what a relationship is supposed to be. And when you're having a relationship situation out in the public eye where, it's not just you and five friends, it's now you and, 500,000 people who are paying attention, it can really make that journey a challenge. So, were they ever able to figure out what the relationship actually was before the internet decided what it was for them? Another 9. Oh my God, guys, you can't make this shit up. So 9 is endings, resolutions, conclusions. 9 is also about being in service. And I feel that they were able to figure this out. They recognized for themselves, especially the 9 of Cups. 9 of Cups is wishes fulfilled. And I feel like that's what they felt was the relationship between the two of them, wishes fulfilled. And quite frankly, I feel that Marlon chose the path of least resistance or chose what he already knows and is comfortable with rather than choosing something that I want to say could have really grown into something incredible. And it's unfortunate. I understand why Yonna is so sad. I get that. I've been there. I can't even tell you how many times I've been there. Eventually she will come to terms with the fact that this, shit happens and maybe sometimes you dodge a bullet. Maybe this is, it's happening for a reason and it's happening for her. in this way, but I do feel that the relationship was a wishes fulfilled relationship on a professional level, as well as it could have been romantic between the two of them in a more long term setting. And, I do feel that they may revisit that at some point, but it won't be for a while. All right, guys. So that is our pop culture reading for this segment, and thank you again to the follower. I don't have permission. I forgot to ask for permission to acknowledge her by name. So thank you to the follower who made this suggestion. For any of you who are watching this and you want to get the scoop and the tea on something that's going on, put something in the comments. Let me know, because I read the comments, and we'll put together a show for you. And until then, remember, curiosity gets us in the door. Clarity helps us understand what we're seeing, and courage is what we do with what we've learned. Until I see you for another episode of Pop Culture Reading, sending lots of love and support. We'll see you on the flip side, and transform well.